to everybody who has tuned into our program, Autism, from a certain point of view. My name is Olckers, and with me here is my co-host, Emile Gouws. I'm going to first tell you about myself. I'm a civil servant to start with. I'm an adult with autism or an autistic adult. I'm very agnostic concerning that terms. I'm not going to argue about it. I've been diagnosed very late in life in 2004, in November 2004, with Asperger's syndrome, what it was known at that time, or also high frequency autism. And since then, I've been involved with autism advocacy. I've got a lot of interest or special interest, Star Trek to start with, comics, graphic novels, science fiction movies, Star Trek, Star Wars, uh, theology, South African history, Star Trek, classical history, ancient history, archaeology, and Star Trek. And have I mentioned Star Trek? Okay.
Yes.
Now over to you, Emile.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you guys are well. And we are actually breaking ground here. Firstly, I want to thank Mount for this amazing opportunity. And I believe that, through this program, we will not only encourage parents, but also autistic adults to be able to come and speak and to be able to be vocal and to represent themselves as well. As you all know, I am an autism self-advocate. I was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3.5 years. I am also a PhD student. I'm a specialist educator. I'm an NEC member of Autism South Africa. And I am also a executive member of the Commonwealth Disabled People's Forum, where I represent neurodiversity. As an autism self-advocate and executive member of the Commonwealth Disabled People's Forum, I acknowledge that the recent COVID-19 pandemic is a global health crisis and is therefore important to note that human rights are not dispensable because there is a medical emergency. Indeed, the need to protect and to ensure that all disabled people have their full and equal participation in human rights and fundamental freedoms, and to promote the respect and the inherited dignity has never been greater. That disabled people face the same risk as the rest of the population, especially individuals on the autism spectrum. And I think it's important for us to discuss this today because it affects not only individuals on autism spectrum out, but it also affects, disabled people all around the world. So I want to ask him out, how did COVID-19 affect you as well?
Well, you can say it has got its good side, it's got its bad side. The good side is I'm alone for a very extremely long time. I can indulge in my interests. I see very few people. And yeah, that is actually heaven. On the bad side, yes, there's anxiety that goes along with autism. And I've been feeling that. For instance, that a colleague of mine passed away recently due to COVID-19. And yes, I nearly had a panic attack due to that. And fortunately, I knew what to do. But you get that thing, you are scared of going out. When somebody coughs, you don't want to be near that guy, or if that guy just sounds a bit hoarse, anything, you don't want to be near that guy. So yeah, I think it has an effect on all of us, and not only us statistics, but everyone in the public. One thing that is really, in returning to your point of disability rights, I think in the UK they have noticed that there's an upsurge of deaths among disabled people due to COVID-19. And yeah, that is an infringement of disability rights, as families would maybe say, give it, do not resuscitate notice. and things like that.
As I know personally that you are dependent on public transport, and and I believe that it's not easy for you as well. In terms of autism, if we look at the diagnosis as such, when there's a disruption in routines, it can affect emotional regulation, and it also affects the emotional well-being of the individual as well. And for me personally, Malt, this COVID-19 has brought its own unique challenges in my personal life as well. First things first, I needed to adapt and accept the health regulations, and specifically the isolation of with family members as well. As you know, that my brother was in Congo, he was actually forced to stay there, specifically when the country was in lockdown. As teacher, I needed to adapt my teaching routines as the school actually presented online teaching with great success. And personally as well, it like I said, it disrupted my routines as well. For me personally, I am somebody who likes to socialize, and I'm also somebody as well that likes to study as well. So in terms of my studying, the only positive that I can say that it brought me closer to my academic performance. I must say that, um, as you all know, that myself and you, as Autism South Advocates, during Autism Awareness Month on the 2nd of April, we made use of different social media platforms to do self advocacy. We use
Yes.
Facebook. And we
Mhm.
also made videos as well, which is quite a new thing for me as well. And I also started a YouTube channel, which is quite fantastic. And we
Yes,
know
yes,
that in terms of the emotional regulation, and I think we can speak about this today as well. Fake news also affects the emotional well-being of the
yes,
individual on autism spectrum. So I want to ask you, Mal, because I know
yes.
you've got a quite opinion on this. How did the fake news affect you, or what is your opinion on this?
Well, how should I say it? I've blocked myself out from news. Actually, I often in every morning I go through the newspapers or the news sites, News 24, CNN, The Guardian, Netwerk 24, like that. And I decided actually to avoid that. And Especially, I muted some people on Facebook. I did not unfriend them. I muted them because of the things that they do promote or actually repost, uh, uh, which could you could call anxiety-inducing belief systems, conspiracy theories, and all that stuff, and that can cause extreme damage. And it is scary some of the things that you see that's promoted, that's false news, and uh, uh, some professional recently on a video I've watched on YouTube called it infodemic, or actually a pandemic or false information. Yes, and that can cause anxiety. And yeah, that's really scary.
I must say, to add to your point as well, um, in terms of my own situation, um, you know, um, fake news actually affected the way I emotionally regulate. During this difficult time, my non-verbal hand gestures increased due to anxiety. And specifically, as an individual on the autism spectrum, it's not easy. What do you do in circumstances like these? Do you make use of your autism survival kit? You know,
Hmm?
frequent spinners. Also, watch a YouTube video. Um, and for me personally, work on studies.
Yeah.
It helped read a book as well. Um, for me
Yes.
personally, there was no sport during COVID-19. So, so yeah, I know for all of you sport lovers, it was quite a hectic time for us. But,
Mhm.
in terms of my own emotional well-being, I also went through a difficult time with the passing of my mom. And to this day, it's extremely difficult. My mom was my rock. She was my primary supporter. She was my best friend. Um, and it is quite hard to to explain your emotions to somebody uh, that didn't walk the journey with you for 26 years.
Mm.
And my mom, was always there, who supported me, through from birth till the age of 27. And and it's a tremendous loss. And and specifically when I do autism awareness events, you know, there's nobody there anymore that I can share my emotions with, that I can tell about my experiences during the events. And I feel it as well. And I think I needed to to adapt to the circumstances. And specifically for me, it's not easy. Um, but what I realized and what gives me encouragement is that my mom gave me tools to implement, in the education during my autism self advocacy. You know, she basically supported me emotionally, socially, as well as cognitively as well, in terms of the academic stimulation. With the lessons that she taught me, I can implement. So it was quite hard for me as well. But like I said, I tried to adapt, and and tried to 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 implement the lessons that she taught me.
Yeah, I think this adaptation is actually a difficult thing, especially for autistics, as we love routine, and this is a sudden break in that routine, and things is not normal as usually. For a long time, I'm still not going to work. I'm classified as as a person with comorbid conditions. I've got diabetes and asplenia, and yes, so I can't go to work. Um, I'm actually just sitting at home, uh, doing absolutely just watching TV, or watching DVDs, watching Netflix, reading graphic novels, reading books. Yeah, it's a totally different lifestyle. Usually you go to work. There's tasks that you do at work. You've got the lunch break, and you go home, and all is a certain process. You at certain time you make your dinner, and then you drink your medication, and then you go to sleep. And that's a total routine that has been disrupted. And yes, my sleeping patterns is now totally haywire. I'm now trying to get it back into order. Um, I would actually go for something like a 22-hour day before I go to bed, and watch Netflix late into the morning, and wait for the birds to start uh, their cheers and that, and then go to bed and wake up late in the afternoon. And yeah, so there's a total disruption. And yes, the mask, uncomfortable to wear, and I had to try on 3 different masks until I found one that I'm completely comfortable with. I'll show it to you. And okay, I just want to warn you, it is not what I support. It's the only one that I could find. So I know no Joburg guy like you would not like that. A friend of mine would, my other best friend, she would like that. Yeah, well, okay. On that topic of rugby, fortunately, we could say that the Blue Bulls has not yet lost a game this year. So,
Thank you, Matt, for putting it so straightly. To come back to reality as well, is that there's so many young parents specifically with on children on the autism spectrum,
Mhm.
that also find it extremely difficult. As we know that one of the biggest challenges for these parents are the emotional regulation, and specifically, yet again, the breaking of routines. Let's face it, as parent, you need to adapt. You need to make sure that your child adapt as well. And we know it's extremely difficult. And each parent knows their child, and therefore they need to adapt according to what to their child's specific needs. Um, and I believe that parental support is vital in this difficult
Mhm.
time, um, specifically in terms of education,
Yeah.
making your child aware. We know that general self-awareness is a big challenge. Specifically, theory of mind comes to think of it during this difficult time,
Yeah.
and general anxiety. If a parent wants to take a child into a shopping center, sensory
Yeah.
sensitivity in terms of the touch of the mask. Um, and it's extremely difficult. So what do you want to add with regards to this situation, or what advice can we give parents?
Just think there's some even that might have an issue with the sanitizer in the entrance of shops that most people buy and that. Okay, I know children are not allowed in shops, actually. Most shops do not allow children inside it, which I think is a good thing. It's actually good to keep children out of shops at the moment. But the smell of the sanitizer is extremely strong. And it might be discomforting, can be a sensory issues, or one of the sensory issues for many children. Um, a problem that we must understand is especially here in South Africa, where there's a large uh, impoverished population. I'm thinking about a recent video I've watched where Professor Petrus de Vries said that 47% of South African households are single parent households. And those parents would have a bigger problem than if it would be a two-parent family. We're talking about a reduced income, because in times that the creches were closed, uh, and the parent will have to go to work. What now? When schools were closed, the parent must go to work, because if the parent doesn't go to work, there's no income, there's no food. So there's a sort of a roll-on problem that can make it bigger. And yeah, I think the community must understand and to help and assist such parents where they can.
I agree with you as well, and I think it comes back to the community of practice. For instance, where different parties play a specific role in terms of the child's development and general self-awareness. So for parents, from my personal experiences, what I can say is that parents need specifically, they need to make they need to make the child aware of what's going on, you know,
Yes,
and
yes. There must be honesty.
honesty.
Um, and honesty, yes. And there is social stories about that available. There's some university. I don't know if you can remember the name of the university. They have issued some material. Vicky from Autism South Africa placed it on their website, that parents can use to help the children to understand COVID-19 and lockdown, and even to understand like load shedding and things like that.
Mal, what I want to say is that also, and you elaborated on this quite nicely, is that we need to think and we need to be realistic in terms of South Africa's challenges that we have. And one of the biggest challenges a parent have with a child is definitely meltdowns. So I
Yes.
usually refer to the 5 point check that Tony Atwood usually described to. Specifically,
Yeah.
if a parent sees a child that has a meltdown, you look at the 5 point check. First thing, you as parent, you identify the cause of the meltdown. Can be a simple interview. Secondly, what you need to do is you need to communicate with your child. Ask him. You start with you start with the emotional side. How are you feeling? Why are you feeling that way? What can I help you with? Number three is try to find a solution to the problem. Can be can be also a conversation, can be a reinforcement, positive reinforcement. Number four is basically when you show the child practically, you know, if I refer to the recent COVID-19 events, you go put on the news and you try to show the child in terms of what's going on, bring him back to reality, and try to show him what's going on and explain to him in a way, this is the cause, what happened, what can we do to prevent this problem from happening? And then the last step is implementation, where the child will practically show you. And I know for some parents, and if I refer to the educational side as well, it's specifically difficult because students with autism are visual learners. So I would
Mhm.
recommend that continuous visual stimulation, you know, showing a picture. What's your opinion on this, Mount? Do you agree?
Well, I should say yes. We should be truthful to autistic children. We must not tell stories. How should I say? We must not further give our own fake news about it. We must be honest about it and why it is happening, and why he can't go and visit friends, why he can't go and visit granny or like that. But then again, you go back to anxiety. Uh, our anxiety can be avoided, or how to treat anxiety. Aromatherapy and Indian head massage, reflexology, or listen to relaxation CD or music. Well, in some autistics' mind, relaxing music can be heavy metal. Uh, Visualization or progressive relaxation method, also called the Jacobson method. That's you can download it from various sites. It's a MP3 that takes you through relaxation. I don't know if you have heard it before, but it starts with at your toes, and where you are told how to relax every
Yeah.
specific part of the body.
Yes. I know
Uh,
specifically. If I can add to this, the Davis program
yes,
specifically refers to it as the mind's eye to the point where you start off with your toes and you move up
yes,
towards your head.
yes, and having hobbies. It mentions here photography or art, but there can be a lot of hobbies, and I think an autistic person would not have a problem to pinpoint his hobbies. To read books about it, or watch YouTube videos about it, or things like that. Exercise, if that's a, I should say, physical exercise or anything like that. Um, so you must keep your mind busy, and I should say, keep your mind off what causes the anxiety. like I should say, avoiding news, avoiding fake news, do not scare people about it or not, things like that, avoiding that. In my case, I've been binge watching some TV series. I've been through Hawaii 5.0 until season 6, and I'm now starting season 5 of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and yeah, it keeps your mind off that, and I was like, say, not thinking of it would be the best.
Can I also say that you refer earlier to the music? Can we also include this to your autism survival kit, and which parents can adapt it according to their students' needs or to their child's needs
I
rather?
let's say that the autism survival kit definitely differs from person to person. Each person must go and create his own. I started with it, you went further with it, and your uh, uh, school kids um, added with it. And yes, music, yes. Going into a shop, for instance, where there's a lot of noise. I've once was with a person who nearly had a meltdown of the noise, and I told the person, put on your music, put your earphones in your ears, and immediately there was a calm down. And yeah, music, definitely yes. And I know autistics who can testify how music would calm them down. Uh, well, these days, music can be carried with you. You can carry something like a few thousand songs with you on a smartphone.
Mm.
And yeah, that's one of the best methods to keep yourself calm, or even to avoid noise as a sensory issue.
I agree with you, Mal, in those circumstances. Um, I think also we must also not shy away in terms of the service providers that can play a beneficial role. Um,
Yes,
if you if you can take the current situation into consideration, in terms of the financial side, um,
mhm,
as we all know that students on the autism spectrum are very sensitive to emotions, specifically emotions of a close family member. Um,
yes,
and remember also that the child is basically the child feels the emotional side as well, and therefore sometimes the child um, is specifically aware of the types of conversations that happens in the household,
yes,
and
yes,
I think in predominantly in all the households, the financial implications, specifically due to this COVID-19, played a major role and led to some arguments. And
yes,
I believe firmly that if I refer to my personal situation as well, as child as well, the emotion of a parent, specifically the parent you're attached to, has a dramatic impact on you. And therefore, the support from a service provider like an educational psychologist can be very beneficial for the family. What's your opinion on
of
this?
course, of course, yes. Yes, they can guide a parent or educate a parent or even a child or even an adult, autistic adult, uh, to, how should I say, improve the situation. Um, psych, how can I say, psychologists, psychiatrists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, educators. Um, they are there to assist the parent. And there's, how shall I say, I've got high respect for those people for what they are doing.
Definitely. And I think also a common thing that might occur is specifically in psychology, we refer to the fight or flight response. Um, you
Yes,
know, to explain that, the fight response is specific when you confront a situation, and the flight response
Mm-hmm.
if you portray avoidance. And reality-wise, adults on the autism spectrum tend to portray avoidance. And I think,
Yes.
if you refer to the current situation in the autism field, specifically to parents, due to this emotional, due to the fact that they're emotionally vulnerable during this difficult time, some parents, do not know how to accommodate their child on the spectrum. And therefore, I believe that, they would take the flight response, and they can either, um, avoid talking in front of the child, or specifically,
Mm-hmm.
um, they refer to an educational psychologist in order to accommodate the child. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe that specifically during this difficult time, and I also want your opinion on this, but I believe that, parental support is critical, in terms of, the emotional side of the child, and specifically, to make the child aware of the current circumstances, and to reassure him that everything is fine. Um, what's your opinion on this? Do you agree with me?
I agree with you, but it's not only limited to an autistic child. It's any child needs parental support, and yeah, there's a lot of studies done on that, and a lot of uh, uh, specialists will agree on that. Is that parents must be involved in the lives of their children. Uh, they must therefore them be in everything they are, support their sport or their interests, when it's going well, when it's going bad, and sadness and everything. That's what makes a child well functioning future adult.
Yeah. Malta also believes that I believe in neuroplasticity for referring now to my personal life as
Mm-hmm.
child. I believe that an individual can adapt according to their personal circumstances. And I believe that, in terms of the environment, the circumstances, specifically the expectations of a certain environment, with
Yes.
support, the individual can adapt. And therefore, I believe, yet again, um, the parent must be involved, despite the age. Specifically, it doesn't matter the age. You know, a child can
Mm-hmm.
be, or the individual on the autism spectrum can be 27 years old. It is very,
Yeah.
very critical that the parent keeps supporting the child, because I must put on now my academic hat. Um,
Yeah.
in my PhD, I'm making use of Erickson's theory of identity development. Now,
Yeah.
Erickson's theory, uh, his theory on psychosocial development, um, has to do with, the different stages a child develops, basically from birth till
Mm-hmm.
till old age. An individual um, um, develops according to specific stages. And therefore, with
Yes.
regards to autism, and I believe that, sometimes, some people in the public do misunderstands this. If you refer to autism, the child adapts according to the specific environment. And
Yes.
although the child may be functioning in his home environment where he communicates well, he functions fantastically, he's independently, it doesn't mean that that same behavior, or that same behavior traits will occur in the next in another environment. And
Mm-hmm.
therefore, refer if you take in Erickson's theory of psychosocial development, an individual can adapt according to circumstances. And therefore, with regards to autism, if a child or individual on the autism spectrum, you know, changes his expectations. He's in
Mm-hmm.
a new environment, with new people, new circumstances. It doesn't matter the age or what he did his independence levels in the previous regulations or stages, he will still go back, you know, and therefore we refer to autism as a neurodevelopmental disorder. And therefore,
Yes.
in each new environment with new expectations, the individual will function again under level two, the trust versus mistrust stage, and therefore needs to
Mhm.
build again, you know, move until he reaches self efficiency as well as um, self actualization. And
Uh,
I think, yes, what's your opinion on this?
well, now when you talk about neuroplasticity,
Yeah,
and that's something that I do believe in. That is something that I've seen with my own life. I was until 2004. I was actually a total disaster. Then I got diagnosed, and I usually say I've given the demon a name. Um, okay, for some people outside there, I don't believe autism is a demon or you are demon possessed. It is just a figure of speech. If you give a demon a name, you've got control over it. Um, then you know what to do. Then you can retrain your mind, and you can become from a very aggressive person to a very quiet person. And yeah, you totally can change your outlook and life and your behavior in that. So yes, it is something that through life can happen is you can change how your brain functions. And yes, with autistic person, it is not to say if he's nonverbal, he can stay. He's going to stay nonverbal. You are a big great example of that. We started speaking at 15. It means that the mind can change, the mind can adapt, and it does so constantly throughout life.
yeah. And I want to add to this as well, specifically with regards to this theory, because I use this theory to analyze my personal life as well. And therefore, it maintains that an individual develops his personality throughout each learning stage. And due to this, listen to this, Mount. Individuals must master 8 sequential stages which influence their biological, psychological, and social functioning throughout their lives. And I believe that it's like this with autism as well, specifically, through each developmental stage, with each new challenge that occurs, you will go back. You will drop it. You will go back to stage one again, and therefore that's where
Mhm.
parental support comes in, as well as the support from service
Yes,
providers. You need to
yes,
form a coalition to build those bricks again. And yes,
yeah.
it's not going to be easy. It takes time, unfortunately, but with the right support, with for yourself and for your child as well, your child will achieve his goals.
Mm. Yeah, before we close our session, I was thinking one thing that I really also realized that is uh, actually good for an autistic person is in my case, spirituality. Um, okay, a lot of churches are closed, and we have to adapt and do churches on Zoom, and and I should say that not even limiting it to attending a church on Zoom or watching a church service on YouTube or something like that, but even anything that can be spiritually uplifting or uplifting to you as a person uh, can be very good to watch. Something that can build your confidence or give
Uh,
you. How should I say how should I cannot find the words to describe that now, but it does make you feel better in the situation.
uh, About, are you referring to your specific interests?
No, not only specific interests, but how should I say, something that can be uplifting, positive words, uh, uh, or reading something that's positive. That usually does not. They maybe fall outside the special interest or outside the field of autism, but something that can just build your confidence. Our viewers can maybe let us know who they prefer to watch or to read. Uh, there's various directions that you can go into. In my case, it would be spirituality.
Thanks for that. And it makes me think of a specific question that might come up or that might pop up um, with regards to this current situation that we are currently in, COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think parents must allow their children to watch the news? Not specifically South African news channels, but I'm referring to CNN, American news, where as we know that the infection rates of COVID-19, specifically the death rates, are extremely high. Do you think a parent must allow their child to watch the news? In terms of, I'm
I would,
taking out the positivity into consideration, which you were
yeah,
speaking about.
mm-hmm. I would advise against that because it will cause more doubt. There's a lot of things going on at the moment in the news um, that seems like the world is about to end. And I should like say, okay, it looks like that since from the first newspapers came into existence, it looks like the world is about to end. And I should say, no, avoid the news. Uh, their business is panic. And no, even I'm avoiding it at the moment because a lot of those news are not actually news; it's opinions. A lot of times, someone's warped opinion. And so I would advise against that.
Uh, Thank you. Um, and I think if we look at specifically parents with young children, and I think that is where the service providers advice also comes in. I think, and specifically the parent support as well with regards to screen timing with the child, specifically those routines that's at home. Parents must stick to their routines as well. you know
Mm-hmm.
yes, there will be a little bit of adaptation due to the fact that some of the students, well, the majority of them will basically receive online teaching by now. Parents must
Mm-hmm.
still keep that schedule with regards to screen timing, homework sessions, dinner time, playtime. Um, and I think screen timing is very, very, very important. um, do you think so?
Yes. Create a schedule, stay to the schedule. Uh, how should I say? Keep to the routine. Uh, don't let things fall apart.
And I think, with regards to that, I must say that parents need to keep it as visual as possible. Like visual
Mm-hmm.
stimulation, um, auditive stimulation in terms of different senses, very important. Um,
Yeah, okay. And I think with that, Emile, I think our time has run out, unfortunately. And I want people to write to us, contact us, tell us what you want us to discuss. What is your opinions about what we said? What is your criticism, positive and negative? And everybody must have a good time at home and stay safe. And as Spock would say, it's live long and prosper.
Okay, thank you guys. And like I said, like Maud said, you know, this is the first of a series of videos. Please write to us. And you know, this video sessions was brought to you by I Have a Voice, MPO, and the
Autism Awareness
Awareness
Network.
Network. Okay, thank you guys. See you next week. Goodbye.